by the president.
So good to see you again.
Good to see you again in
A
Berlin.
pleasure. Well, this time in Berlin. Last time I think it was Copenhagen.
It was Copenhagen, and very briefly in Albania I saw you.
That's
but that was an advantage for me because I was next to the red carpet and there were so many faces.
Oh yes,
so
yes. It was hard to find you among so many other
exactly,
journalists.
but Copenhagen was the last longer conversation. I'm happy to see you in Berlin.
So happy to see you too.
It's autumn, but I think we dare to take a little walk.
Let's try that. I hope it doesn't rain, but even if it does, we can continue the conversation.
You're better equipped than I am. I just have a suit, but it's fine. We're gonna walk towards Gendarmenmarkt. How often have you been to this city? Very often, I assume.
It's quite often because, you know, I was a 5-time member of parliament before before I got elected as speaker and then as president. And before that, I was the chief of staff to the president of Kosovo, especially surrounding the time when we declared independence. And that meant a lot of foreign policy activity here in Berlin, in Brussels, and in Washington, D.C. But I can't say that I know the city that well because it's always just, you know, full of meetings in rooms and not necessarily going out and seeing the city. This is
the destiny of a top-level politician, that you see so many places and at the same time you just see what you don't see.
That's absolutely true. And it's the same with so many other cities around the world. But at least I can say that this is a historic city, not just for the people of Germany and for the world, but also specifically for Kosovo, because right after Milosevic put through his oppressive measures and the apartheid-like system in Kosovo, we had our government in exile, and Germany was the very first country to host our government in exile. And apart from the very large and extraordinary diaspora that we have here, Berlin and Bonn at that time were kind of the center of so many policies that had to do with our lives and our future. And we see it as one of the cities that has had a historic role in our freedom, our independence, and our democracy.
And hopefully maybe also has a historic role when it comes to your road towards the EU?
I do hope so. I do hope so. As you know, the people of Kosovo have never looked elsewhere. We've looked at only this path, the European integration path. We don't flirt with other powers, malign powers. Russia, China, Iran, what I call kind of the triangle of evil. But at the same time, we don't feel like this pro-European approach and the fact that we are 100% aligned with the European Common Foreign and Security Policy has been looked at or valued. Quite the opposite. It feels that it's taken for granted. 97% of the people of Kosovo are pro-European. Our reforms on economy, on rule of law, especially fighting crime and corruption, have been fundamental. But yet on our European integration path, we're stuck. And it seems like the merit-based process that the EU talks so much about, it's still something to come. I don't see it happening yet. But I do hope, as you said, that Germany will play that leading role in pushing for a merit-based process, because we're not asking for charity. We're not asking for a shortcut.
But for respect and acceptance.
Exactly, respect for the work that we do and acceptance for the reforms that we carry out. And if that is to be taken into account, Kosovo would become the front runner. But as the reality is right now, we don't even have our application looked at. We've applied in December 2022, and now we're almost in December 2025, and it's somewhere in the drawers of the European Union, but it's not moving forward. If Germany takes a leadership role, I think it can happen, as with every other good process that has happened so far.
But are you hopeful? I mean, with Friedrich Merz, he has a massive domestic agenda, and a major part of this is rather enlargement skeptical and maybe not so much focus on sort of the opportunities of Europe, although he expresses it sometimes.
Well, I seem to think that that is domestic too, because I think enlargement should not only be seen, as I said, a charity process, but rather as a potential that we can share with the rest of Europe, including with Germany. Kosovo should not be seen as a burden any longer. We have the youngest population in Europe that is tech-savvy, multilingual, the best in Southeastern Europe in IT competitiveness. They're brilliant. So it's the human capital, it's the economic potential that is huge. And at the same time, I think it should also be seen as a strategic imperative. Western Balkans that is not peace, stable and safe means a Europe that is not peace, stable and safe. So if we can get the Western Balkans based on a merit-based process to the European Union, the EU countries would benefit from that too. I think domestically there is a benefit to enlargement as well. It's just, the way how you put it and the way how you explain it. So a security imperative, a strategic imperative, but it's also in the interest of the EU itself to get this process done. I think Chancellor Merz is a doer rather than just talking. I think he walks the talk. But it's also up to us to convince him that this is something from which Germany and EU member states can benefit too.
I'm quickly going to move on the other side just because of the microphone. Yes, but at the same time, Merz is aware how malfunctioning the EU is in a way currently. So there's many voices who say and who express that the EU needs reform before enlargement happens. What would you argue?
If we wait for the EU reform for enlargement to happen, it might take decades, and that is never a contribution to a Europe whole, free and at peace, which I want to believe is also the intention of the German government. However, I strongly believe that reform and enlargement can happen in parallel. There are ways to overcome some of the obstacles that exist right now. There are ways to push forward for reform when it comes to the voting process for admitting new members, so that we don't allow, let's say, just one single country to veto the entire process based on some domestic political considerations rather than the rather larger strategic output. So I think they can be done in parallel rather than have enlargement wait for reforms, because I think that is something against the EU itself. If we put enlargement on a waiting room, I think it could be an invitation to destabilization, especially in the Western Balkans. Rather, the people in our region need hope that we truly will have an open door to the EU if we do our homework, that is, and if it's a merit-based process.
One issue always has been the relationship with Serbia and also the tensions. How do you think you can solve that situation? Or in other words, how is the current state of play with Mr. Vučić?
It's always difficult with Serbia because, we're here in Berlin, so probably the most
in the center
fitting
of Gendarmenmarkt, Berlin Mitte. It's not possible to be more.
It's only fitting that I say that for a country to move forward, it needs to deal with the past.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in Serbia, we haven't had a leadership, especially not with Vučić, who dealt with the past. Quite the opposite. He glorifies Milosevic. He tries to drag the entire Western Balkans back to the 90s. He's used destabilization tactics, including acts of aggression against Kosovo.
And he has a strong ally.
He has a number of strong allies, but it starts with Putin, I would say. Mm-hmm. He's the strongest ally. He's brought Serbia from a 96% alignment with the EU to a 46% alignment with the EU, and his strategic relationship with Russia, China, and Iran is growing by the day. And I think it should be a wake-up call for everyone in the EU as to what they're doing to the region in its entirety and how much they're damaging peace and stability in our region by supporting Russia's extended hand in Europe. So far, this appeasement policy has not worked. At least it hasn't achieved anything positive in our region. Yet we tried to be very constructive in this dialogue. I guess the single testament to that is the fact that we have accepted every single proposal that was put out there by the European Union. So how can one be more constructive than say yes to everything that is proposed by the mediator? Vučić has not accepted to sign the so-called German fresh proposal, which is now an EU proposal. And instead of pushing him to agree to that agreement, unfortunately, most of the EU pressure is against Kosovo. I guess, as Americans say, it's easier to twist your friend's hand rather than your enemy's. But I think just because sometimes we're seen as the weaker party, we're a smaller country, obviously, that shouldn't be used against Kosovo in the sense of making the dialogue entirely imbalanced.
In Germany, many people, and I guess that also in other countries, many people see this as a common process, the Berlin process, where you look at all the Western Balkan states and then enlargement in general. Would you wish more differentiation in the sort of perspective from Germany on the single countries on the West Balkan, that all, or many of them, want to progress towards the EU?
Absolutely. I think the merit-based process should be the key to everything. Everyone, each and every one of us, including ourselves, should be seen for what we do and how we act and the situation in the ground, and not simply based on the words that the leaders of each country say. We need to look at the alignment with the common foreign and security policy. We need to look at the alignment with EU sanctions. We need to look at the situation of democracy, rule of law, and human rights in each and every country, and then economic reforms and other kind of reforms. And whoever does the homework needs to move ahead, but whoever doesn't, they need to stay behind, because I don't think the European Union needs a Trojan horse inside, or someone that serves Putin.
There are already Trojan horses.
There are already, so I think
yeah.
Another one isn't going to do any good to the European Union and its unity, which is fundamental in achieving anything important for the security of Europe. So it's very important that each country passes these thresholds and truly proves that they don't see the EU simply as a cash machine, but mostly as a system of values to which they adhere. We in Kosovo do, but I think each Western Balkan country needs to showcase the same.
You say you don't really have an alternative, you're not looking into any other direction, but what is happening if the process would not proceed? Do you think there's a tipping point in your country as well?
Look, if I don't like to often talk too much about very distant history, but we are a nation that fought to defend European civilization well before the EU existed. Our national hero, George Castrioti, fought more than 500 years ago to defend what we call the last port of Europe. And that has always been the very DNA of our nation, defending Europe and its values. And we have been doing that for centuries, and we're not planning to stop now. No matter how thorny the road, no matter how long it is, we're not going to change course. Because in the darkest hour of our history, when genocide was being committed against us, it was the Western powers, it was European countries together with the United States that did not turn a blind eye on the people of Kosovo and came to our rescue. And that, I would say, has kind of stamped once and forever our strategic orientation alongside with history that I mentioned. No matter how long it takes, I don't see a tipping point where Kosovo would ever change sides.
There's another challenge and another multilateral organization that is something you want to develop your country towards, which is NATO in terms of defense. How do you compare these two processes?
To be very frank with you, I see NATO as even more urgent than European integration, which, as you know, EU would take some time even after we get a candidate status.
Because you believe NATO is more powerful?
I believe NATO is more necessary for our region for the moment. For us to be in NATO means to be safe.
And you're looking at Serbia again?
Again, Serbia and of course Russia. I think Russia has a long-term interest to destabilize the Western Balkans, and through the Western Balkans destabilize the European continent, and they will not give up on this aim. But the more NATO territory that you have in the Western Balkans, the more they will hesitate to create new little fires. So I strongly believe that it's in the strategic interest of NATO as well to make sure that there is enlargement towards the Western Balkans, especially in this case Kosovo and Bosnia and Herzegovina, as soon as possible. We already meet the criteria. Our army has been built and trained in full compliance with NATO standards. There's a lot of interoperability happening already, and we already spend more than 2% of our GDP. We're planning to double that down in the next 4 years. So we're going to achieve 4% faster than many NATO member states. And as I said, we have a young population, a lot of skills among them in terms of defense industry, where we're investing a lot together with many NATO partners right now. So the more NATO territory, as we have seen with the membership of Albania, initially Croatia, but then Albania, North Macedonia and Montenegro, the more safety, prosperity and peace there will be in the Western Balkans. And I think that can happen quicker than the European Union. We're very much focused on that. It just takes, it does take some time, but I hope that the moment when NATO member states will understand how important that is for the safety and peace in the continent will come faster.
Just difficult in the thinking of many, because there are these tensions with Serbia, sometimes even more directly at the border, and an Article 5 case could happen very fast, which is
Serbia would never dare to do that if we were a NATO member state. Never. I mean,
Which is also your thinking.
Exactly. I think prevention and deterrence would really work well, and it would be successful in 100% of the cases if we were NATO territory. The only reason why Serbia dares to try to commit acts of aggression against Kosovo is because we're not NATO territory. And that would entirely change the security architecture of our region. The same with Bosnia and Herzegovina. If Bosnia and Herzegovina was a member of NATO, Serbia would think twice in destabilizing the country from within. So I think NATO would, instead of a burden, they need to look at this as an opportunity. It's investment into the future and making sure that they prevent future conflicts well before someone might think of them. But you know, when you say tensions, I never call them tensions between Kosovo and Serbia. We never attacked even an inch of Serbian territory in our history, let alone now. What happened is Serbia sent a group of paramilitary and terrorist forces within Kosovo, and we were able to thwart that attack in the very first hour that it started. Nevertheless, I strongly believe that if we were a member of NATO, they would have never even thought about that, let alone try it.
Now we're here in Berlin. You met Friedrich Merz probably for the first time at this summit in Tirana, at the European
Yes,
political
correct.
community, I assume. So you had a chance to have a probably first brief conversation there?
Yes, we had a brief conversation there, and then we had another conversation now in Copenhagen at the European Political Community Summit. We know each other for some time. I know Minister Vateful much longer because I used to be in the ideological political side, the same as CDU for more than 2 decades.
You even have a background with Konrad Adenauer Stiftung.
Correct. I was a fellow and received a stipend early on. I was really young. It was about 20 years ago.
Did you tell Friedrich Merz?
Friedrich,
when you were a young, striving politician, I was even younger, and in your
and Konrad Adenauer saw something in me. It was actually the very first organization that ever supported me in the very early years. So I think there is a lot of potential for cooperation there with the new chancellor and the foreign minister, and I'm looking forward to working with them to see how we can make this relationship even stronger. You know, we have a great diaspora here in Kosovo that is so thriving and excited to make bigger things happen. But at the same time, I think Chancellor Merz will understand that true partnerships means telling the truth and not telling you something else and then flirt with Putin. not spending the 9th of May, the Day of Europe, in Moscow. I don't think that's the kind of true partnership that Germany or anyone in the European Union needs. In Kosovo, they will always find a true partner, a friend, and an ally of values rather than just a bunch of rhetoric. And I think that's crucial to be seen by this new government in Germany.
The foreign minister, Vjosa Osmani, will soon visit the region and Kosovo as well.
Yes.
What's your expectations? What's the one message you want to give him?
One message. It's going to be hard to pack that into one message.
Oh, you only have one message. We're playing that game now.
Okay, if I have only one message, I would say this. I've known Vjosa Osmani for many, many years. He was such a strong voice in Kosovo, telling us for decades, a decade or so, fight crime and corruption. Finally, in Kosovo, he has that partner. In these 5 years, we've managed to dismantle more than 900 gangs. We've cut down that chain, what was called the Balkan Mafia. There are no criminal gangs in our country. The level of crime is at this historic low. According to Gallup International, Kosovo is the top country in Europe in terms of safety and security and rule of law reforms, and we're number 3 in the world. And finally, he has the partner that he has been looking for in Kosovo. So let's get some things done.
Wonderful. We're approaching the hotel again, and we see the foreign ministry behind it, and the place and the location where the Berlin Global Dialogue is happening.
Yes.
Also a reason why you're here, to speak in one forum and to argue for Kosovo's interests. Share what's important from your perspective.
For us, it's important to have a voice, and
Yeah.
we're very grateful that in Berlin we've always found a platform where we can be heard. And when we are given a voice, then we might also get a chance to hopefully convince as many partners as possible, not just from politics, but also from the business sector, to see Kosovo as that ally with which they can work in making the vision of Europe whole, free, and at peace a true reality. The potential is actually in our people. Our people are our biggest bet in this relationship. And I truly hope that both in the German institutions, as well as in German civil society and the business community, we will be able to strengthen that relationship to the benefit of both of our peoples. I'm very, very hopeful that all of these moments that we get here in Berlin and elsewhere in Germany too will benefit this relationship in a way that it's going to be the citizens as the end beneficiaries of everything we do.
If you come back, or when you come back next time to Berlin, and let's imagine you just have a day off, something crazy to imagine. What would you do? Is there a point that something that you would like to see or visit?
I've seen a few points, obviously the Brandenburg Gate and a few others where there's so much history and places where you can reflect about, I would say, a people that never gave up on its freedom and the sense of unity. And I would go back there again because, you know, I come from Mitrovica, a city that some are still trying to keep divided. And now in the past couple of years that we've been successful in reintegrating our city, just imagine what the people of Kosovo feel. They feel the same thing that the German people felt when the Berlin Wall fell down. And so I would walk there around and spend a lot of time, but also I think I would just spend the entire day walking and seeing much more, and also spending time with our amazing diaspora.
We did a little walk now. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for making it possible.
Thank you, Madam President. I hope to see you again very soon.
I hope
so. Somewhere close to a red carpet or to a conference meeting, or
I hope
here
so.
in Berlin.
Please come to Kosovo. It would be great if you could see for yourself the progress that we have made, and then maybe you can talk about Kosovo more and convince everyone.
I was in Kosovo a couple of years ago when I covered defense, and the German army was there in quite a presence. I was also in Mitrovica.
We would love to host you again.
Thank you so much, Madam President.
Thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.